Welcome back, the rare and valuable coins. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Abraham Lincoln, wheat pennies, and rare Lincoln wheat cents. But not just any coins, we're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. So let's get started. First up, the 1948 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny. This particular penny doesn't have a mint mark, has a red color shade, and is in full damaged condition. Now, you might be thinking, what's the value of a coin like this in today's market? Well, stick around because we're going to break down what makes this coin special, despite its condition, and how much it could be worth right now. Let's start with the basics. The 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the famous Wheat Penny series that ran from 1909 to 1958. This series features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and on the reverse we see the iconic wheat stalks, which is where the coin gets its name. In 1948, the U.S. Mint produced millions of these pennies without mint mark, meaning it was minted in Philadelphia, which was the main mint for pennies at the time. This makes the coin common in terms of its production year, but we'll see that its value can still fluctuate based on its condition. Now, let's talk about the red color shade of this coin. When we refer to a coin as being red, we're talking about the copper tone that is still present on the surface of the penny. The original color of a new penny is a bright reddish-brown, and this coin may have maintained that color for a while. However, it's important to note that the red shade in a coin's color doesn't automatically mean higher value, especially when the coin has been damaged, which we'll talk about next. Speaking of damage, this 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny is in full damage condition, which means it has seen heavy wear and tear. Coins in this condition are typically very well circulated, and the details on the coin, like the wheat stalks and Lincoln's portrait, may be worn down or even difficult to distinguish. Full damage condition usually means that the coin has been bent, scratched, or worn down to the point where the fine details are barely visible. This type of damage can lower the value of a coin significantly, as collectors tend to seek coins that retain as much of their original detail as possible. So, with that in mind, what is a 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny without mint mark, in red color shade, and full damage condition worth in today's market? Honestly, this coin's value will be relatively low. Given the heavy damage and worn condition, it's not likely to fetch more than its face value unless it's a rare error coin, which this one doesn't appear to be. Typically, a 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny in poor condition like this one would be valued anywhere from $140,000, depending on the level of damage. In full damage condition, don't expect it to be worth much more than a few cents above face value, especially since it's a common year coin with no mint mark. Now, even though this particular coin may not be worth much, let's take a moment to talk about what could affect its value. The biggest factors in determining a coin's value are the year, the mint mark, the condition, and any unique features like errors or rare varieties. In this case, the 1948 penny has no mint mark, which means it was minted in Philadelphia. If this penny were in a higher grade, say extremely fine or uncirculated, it could be worth more. But because this coin is in full damage condition, its value remains modest. That said, there's still a place for damaged coins in a collection. While they may not command top dollar, they can serve as a learning tool or a representation of a coin that's circulated through history. Some collectors even focus on coins in damaged condition for the sheer fact that they tell a unique story. Next up, the 1926 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, specifically one without mint mark and with a unique feature, a tick line. If you're wondering about the value of this penny in today's market, stick around because we've got all the details right here. The 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the iconic series that ran from 1909 to 1958. On the obverse, we see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and on the reverse, we have the famous wheat stalks. This design was used for nearly 50 years, and the 1926 penny is a key part of that legacy. In 1926, the U.S. Mint produced these pennies at its Philadelphia Mint, which is why this particular coin does not have a mint mark. Coins from Philadelphia often don't have a mint mark, and that can affect the coin's rarity and value. Now, let's talk about that unique tick line you might notice. A tick line is a small, raised line or imperfection that can sometimes be found on coins. often caused by a slight misstrike or an error during the minting process. These marks are small but can be distinctive, especially on older coins like the 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny. While not all tick lines are considered mint errors, some collectors do find them interesting as they give the coin a little more character. However, it's important to remember that these lines don't typically increase the value of the coin by much, unless they are part of a more significant error. Let's discuss the condition of the coin. This particular 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny is in fine condition. That means it's seen some circulation, but the details are still fairly clear. You'll notice some wear on the coin, but the design elements like Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks will still be distinguishable. In fine condition, a coin will have moderate wear, but the features remain well defined. For example, the details in the wheat stalks on the reverse side will be visible, but they may not be as sharp as on a coin in better condition. The date and Lincoln's features will still be readable, which is why this is a solid grade for collectors. So, how much is a 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny in fine condition worth today? The value can vary depending on the market, but typically a 1926 penny in fine condition without a mint mark will range in value from about $85,000. Of course, if the coin were in better condition, say, extremely fine or uncirculated, it would be worth more. But for a coin in fine condition, this range is pretty typical. The tick line doesn't significantly impact the price, but it may make the coin more interesting to collectors who enjoy unique features. So, what makes the 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark worth keeping an eye on? First, it's part of the classic Wheat Pennies series, which is always sought after by collectors. Even though the 1926 penny isn't as rare as some other dates in the series, it's still a nice addition to any collection. Additionally, the lack of a mint mark indicates it was minted in Philadelphia, which adds to its appeal. While it's not one of the rarer dates, the 1926 penny is often a key coin for those working on completing a full set of wheat pennies. If you're wondering how to identify your 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny, it's quite simple. Look for the year 1926 on the obverse. If there's no mint mark under the date, it was minted in Philadelphia. Then, check the condition. If the coin has moderate wear but the main design elements are still visible, it's likely in fine condition. Next up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny with D mint mark in very fine condition. This is a coin that holds significant value for collectors, especially when it's in great condition. If you're curious about the value of this penny in today's market, stay tuned because we're about to break it down for you. Let's start with the basics. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the famous Wheat Penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. On the obverse, we have the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and on the reverse, you'll see the familiar wheat stalks, a design that's been loved by collectors for decades. In 1944, the U.S. Mint produced these pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coin we're talking about today has D mint mark, which means it was minted in Denver. Coins from the Denver Mint generally have a slightly lower mintage compared to those from Philadelphia, which makes them a bit more desirable to collectors. The 1944 D penny is particularly interesting because it's from a year when copper was in high demand for the war effort during World War II. In 1943, the U.S. Mint even switched to producing steel pennies. However, by 1944, the Mint returned to producing copper pennies, and the 1944 coin saw a significant increase in mintage. Even though the 1944 penny had a high mintage, the D mint mark makes it a little more desirable to collectors who specialize in Denver minted coins. It's important to remember that while these pennies are not as rare as some other dates in the series, they still have great value for those looking to complete their wheat penny collections. Next, let's talk about condition. This 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny is in very fine condition. In very fine condition, the major design elements like Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse are still clearly visible with very little wear. You'll also notice that the coin has minimal surface damage, with the details looking sharp but showing some signs of circulation. In very fine condition, the coin will still retain most of its original detail. The lines in Lincoln's hair, the wheat stalks, and the lettering on both sides should be very legible, making it more appealing to collectors compared to coins with heavier wear. So, what is the market value of a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny with D mint mark in very fine condition? Currently, a 1944 D penny in very fine condition can be worth between $35,000, depending on the specific details and current demand in the coin market. Now, if the coin were in even better condition, say, in extra fine or uncirculated condition, its value could rise significantly, reaching upwards of $500 or more. But in very fine condition, the $40,000 range is typical. Of course, factors like the coin's overall appeal and market fluctuations can play a role in its final value. So, why does the 1944 D Lincoln Wheat Penny have value? While it may not be as rare as some other dates, the combination of its historical significance, the D mint mark, and its place in the larger context of the Wheat Penny series makes it a valuable piece for collectors. Coins like this one are a great starting point for anyone looking to build or expand their collection of U.S. pennies. Wondering how to identify your 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny with D mint mark first? Check the year on the obverse. If it says 1944 and there's a small D mint mark located just below the date, you've got the right coin. Next up, the 1951 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny with D mint mark in good condition. While this may not be the rarest penny, it certainly has a place in any coin collection, especially for those interested in Lincoln Wheat Pennies. Stick around to find out its value in today's market. Let's start by going over the basics. The 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the famous Wheat Penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. The obverse of the coin features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse side shows two stalks of wheat, hence the name Wheat Penny. The 1951 penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. This particular coin, with the D mint mark, was minted in Denver. The D mint mark indicates that it was produced at the Denver Mint, and Denver minted coins often hold a little extra appeal for collectors. So what makes the 1951 D penny stand out? In 1951, the U.S. Mint produced a significant number of these coins, but Denver minted pennies are often a bit more sought after than those minted in Philadelphia. The D mint mark is located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. While the 1951 D penny is not one of the rarest in the series, it's still a valuable find, especially for those building a collection of Lincoln Wheat Pennies with mint marks. It's a great coin to add to your collection, and even in good condition, it holds some nice market value. Now, let's talk about the condition. This 1951 D penny is in good condition, meaning it has seen a bit of circulation over the years. In good condition, the coin will show moderate wear. The design elements, like Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse, are still recognizable, but they've lost some of their sharpness due to the wear from years in circulation. In good condition, you'll still be able to read Liberty and In God We Trust on the obverse, but the details won't be as sharp as a coin in higher grades like very fine or extra fine. For many collectors, coins in good condition still hold great value due to their historical significance. So, what's the value of a 1951 D Lincoln Wheat Penny in good condition today? In today's market, you can expect the 1951 D penny in good condition to be worth around $1,000. The value may fluctuate depending on demand and market trends, but typically, a coin in good condition will fall within that $1,200 range. Of course, if the coin were in better condition, say, in very fine or uncirculated condition, the value would increase significantly, possibly reaching $700 or more. So, what determines the value of the 1951 D penny? The primary factors are its mintage, demand, and condition. While the 1951 D penny wasn't minted in particularly low numbers, it is still a piece of the iconic Lincoln Wheat Penny series, and collectors are always looking for coins from this era. The good condition also plays a big role. Coins with wear still have some value, but the less wear a coin has, the higher its value. A 1951 D penny in very fine condition could be worth much more than one in good condition, so it's always important to keep an eye on the quality of the coin you have. Wondering how to identify your 1951 D Lincoln Wheat Penny? It's pretty simple. First, check the year on the obverse of the coin. If it says 1951 and there's a small D mint mark just below the date, you've got the right coin. Next up, the 1936 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny without mint mark, but in what we'll call dirty condition. It's definitely not the pristine example that collectors love, but even coins in this condition can have value. If you found a similar coin in your collection or in your pocket change, stay tuned as we break down its value in today's market. Let's start with the basics. The 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the iconic Wheat Penny series that ran from 1909 to 1958. The obverse features the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse shows two stalks of wheat, giving it the nickname Wheat Penny. The 1936 penny was minted in Philadelphia, which means it doesn't have a mint mark. Mint marks were used to indicate which mint produced the coin, and coins from Philadelphia often don't have one. So, if you've got a 1936 penny without a mint mark, you're looking at a Philadelphia minted coin. Now, let's talk about the condition of this coin. You mentioned that it's in a dirty condition, which means it's likely seen some wear and tear over the years. A dirty coin can have grime, discoloration, or other debris on its surface, which can obscure the details of the design. In this case, we're looking at a 1936 penny that's been through quite a bit of circulation. The grime and dirt can actually decrease the coin's value because it affects the overall appearance and can make it harder to assess the details. In dirty condition, you may still be able to make out the year, but features like Lincoln's portrait, the wheat stalks, and even the text could be obscured by the dirt or corrosion. So, what is the value of a 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny in dirty condition? Well, even though this coin is not in great shape, it still has some value. In today's market, a 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny in dirty condition typically falls in the range of $20,000. This value is based on the coin being in rough condition with visible dirt, corrosion, or other imperfections. While it's not a huge amount of money, it's still worth something, especially if you're trying to complete your collection. It's important to note that if this coin were in better condition, the value would be significantly higher. A 1936 penny in better shape, say, in very fine or uncirculated condition, could be worth $25,000 or more. You may be wondering, why does dirt or grime lower the value of a coin? Well, collectors prize coins with clear details and a nice appearance. Dirt and corrosion can hide important features, making the coin harder to grade accurately. In some cases, cleaning a coin can actually damage it further, so it's generally recommended not to clean your coins if you're hoping to preserve their value. If you have a dirty coin, it's often better to leave it as is. While cleaning it might seem like a good idea, it can often cause scratches or remove fine details that can make the coin less valuable. So why does the 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny still have value? The Lincoln Wheat Penny series is beloved by collectors, and each year's coin carries some historical significance. The 1936 penny is not among the rarest, but it's still a key date for collectors interested in completing their wheat penny sets. Even though the coin is not in pristine condition, its age, historical significance, and place in the series contribute to its value. Plus, as with all coins, there's always a market for them among collectors. If you think you've found a 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny, here's how you can identify it. First, look at the year stamped on the obverse. If it says 1936, you've got the right coin. Then, check for the absence of a mint mark beneath the date, which means it was minted in Philadelphia. If you have a 1936 penny or any other coins in your collection, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon to get notified of our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!